solution. So what does the leader do? And why is this hope and optimism in Pakistan? When we took over as a government, and I've been with my party for 11 years, and believe it or not, if I open up and show you the messages I've received from 11 years from everybody, 99% messages are, forget it, you'll never make it. And even now, people say, there's so many deficits, how is it going to run? But you look at the potential. The leader is a leader, and I've always shared this with everybody. He does three things. V, D, A. V is for vision. So when everybody sees dark, and everybody sees it can't be done, he sees light. And he can see a path that nobody can see. So to see the unseen is vision. You see, if there's a picture and everybody's looking at the picture and they're seeing the sun and the moon and the picture and the grass and the flowers in the picture and the tree in the picture. So when you see the tree in the picture, that's sightseeing. But when you see the picture in the tree, that's vision. And so that is the test we all have to do, because we are living in a changing world. You're professionals, all of you. So the ability to seek that it can happen, and I can tell you, 2023, if by some chance I come back over here and you people are sitting, I can almost paint the picture to you. And yeah, there'll be differences, but that is the conviction I have, that the picture will have differences, but not too many of the ones I paint. It's because people like you, professional people like you, the talent that we have in this country. So the first part is vision. The second part is VDA, direction. And that's very important. And that's where we are right at the moment, because we are trying to bring reforms. Now, if the direction is wrong, no matter how fast you drive the car, the faster you drive the car, the quicker it will go into a crash if the direction is wrong. But to change the direction, you need to first stop the car. You need to have brakes, because you need to change direction. That's what we are doing right at the moment. So a lot of people who look at the things and they say, what's happened in 6 months? This has not happened. This has not happened. Well, the imports were this high. The exports were nosediving. Nowhere in the world can you, with this trend, ever make progress, and we haven't. We had 25 billion exports in 2013. We ended up with 21 billion. So you need to have more exports than imports. That's common sense. To do that, you have to stop, brake. So we have put on the brakes. Things look a bit slow, but we all know, when you look at the figures, the imports have started going down. The exports have started coming up. It's slow, but that's what you do when your engine is faltering. You don't put the, foot on the accelerator and take off. When the engine has taken that brunt, you stop the car, you restart it, you check it, you start gathering pace, and that's what we are doing at the moment, because you have to change the direction. And there is no shortcut to reforms. There is no shortcut to change. It is going to take time. But if the direction सिमत सही हो, तो फिर किस चीज का मसला है? जब सिमत ही खराब हो, तो फिर हर चीज का मसला है. So vision, direction, and action. So a lot of times we have these beautiful ideas and we are on the right direction, but we don't have the courage to take risks. And I'll give you a very common example. We imposed fines for not wearing helmets. Now my English colleagues will be surprised that this is first of a kind, but even that small change, that's a small change, right? 1,000 rupee. You have absolutely no idea how much people besieged me on the roads. And they say, oh, 1,000 rupees for a helmet not wearing. We are poor people. What are you doing? You people are robbing us, this, that, everything. So I asked them, I said, what do you think we should impose? They said, well, 100 rupees. So I said, if it's 100 rupees, it's not a fine. If the fine doesn't pinch you, doesn't take you, hurt you, the behavior will be repeated. But today, thank God, within 2 months, people are wearing helmets and they're not complaining. The petrol stations have joined our drive and they've said anybody who's not wearing a helmet, they won't provide them petrol. And slowly and steadily, people will start accepting it as a norm, and then somebody who's not wearing it will look like a oddity, right? So I'm just giving you a small example of how change and reform takes time. And actions have to be, so these are unpopular actions. Imposing fines, a lot of these things, they are not going to be populist modes. But then the leader has to be tough and take unpopular decisions. And that's what we are trying to do at the moment. So when they say, okay, what is the hope? I say the hope, like I told you, is that things have started moving in the right direction. I was on a democracy conference last month, I think, and there were 92 countries and I was representing Pakistan. And of course, there were developed countries and everybody was giving a story about their country and their democracy and everything. So, you had to present that what was the change that you were presenting. And there was from Sweden to France to all the other countries. So I just asked a simple question from the audience. I said, I'm sure I'm so inspired by all of you, but how many countries over here can say that their president is a professional dentist? How many countries over here can say that their prime minister is a professional sportsman? How many countries over here can say that their finance minister is an ex-CEO of a fertilizer company? How many countries can over here say that their health minister is a gynecologist? And how many countries can say that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has a CEO of a global knowledge company? Hardly any. So I said, this is the change, that when you have professionals, people like you, coming more and more and taking interest in the country and not thinking that politics is really not worth it. If different people don't come into politics, how will difference come? It has to be people who are professional, and it's not easy. There are sacrifices. All of us have made a lot of sacrifices. The biggest sacrifice is not just financial, but of ego. Because in politics, not the most deserving always run ahead. So you'll always have people who are nothing and nowhere, much less intellectually blessed than you, much less qualified than you, all around you. But that should not bother you. Because if you have these two things, capacity and character, it's just a matter of time. At the moment, we have a leadership and a prime minister whose credibility is beyond doubt. And we have a country, despite the macro variables, which is inviting a lot of interest. I just heard Peter saying that, no, UK may not be the top partner now, the second largest partner. Maybe MBZ is there. So Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi Arabia, we all expected much less, but the amount of interest shown is amazing. Let me tell you that we are having people from Turkey coming, we are having people from Malaysia coming, and there are a number of others whom I can't reveal at the moment, but never have I seen such a queue of investors in the first 6 months of a new government in Pakistan. And that you can verify. That you can verify. And I'm talking about investors. All these investments, like in the talk shows we are, asked, okay, so MBZ has gone, where is the oil refinery? Where are the jobs? It's going to take time. You all know you're professionals. It's going to take time. And leadership is a journey. It's not an event. It's a journey where 90% of the time you're groping in the dark. But it's your conviction, your courage, and your commitment which keeps you on. So, to end my conversation, the leadership conversation, and that's my motto of life, never stop trying, never stop believing, never stop doing. Your time will come, and Pakistan's time has come. Thank you.
Do your duty, but have faith in God. There is no power on earth that can undo Pakistan.
पाकिस्तान एक ख्वाब, अनमित जज्बों और लाजवाल उमंगों से जिसकी ताबीर मुमकिन हुई। पाकिस्तान एक गुलिस्तान उम्मीद का, लाखों में जिसकी अपने लहू से आबियारी की। ताबीरे चमन से तामीरे वतन का आगाज हुआ। इसकी बुनियादों में शामिल हमारी अनथक मेहनत और लगन, जिससे तरक्की का सफर हुआ तेज से तेज तर। हमारी कुव्वत इरादी बनी हमारी पहचान, और दुनिया में ऊंचा हुआ पाकिस्तान का नाम। कारवां जारी है जानिबे मंजिल, कठिन सफर है थमे नहीं है कदम। नया सूरज यहीं से उभरेगा, खुशहाली का चश्मा यहीं से फूटेगा। इल्मो हुनर से हर सू चरागां हो रहा है, तामीरे वतन का जज्बा फरावां हो रहा है। हमारी महारतों की है दुनिया मोतरिफ, हम अब तस्खीर कर रहे हैं नए उफक। ये देश बनेगा रहबरे तरक्की कमाल, रहती दुनिया देगी जिसकी मिसाल।
हम देखेंगे। As a precursor to your keynote address, this is the vision that ACCA members have made for the emerging Pakistan, and this is our commitment. This is ACCA's commitment for this change, and we seek to contribute to this. Thank you so much, Andali Pavas, for the guest of honor. Let's give her a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. If I could be joined on stage by Robert Stenhouse, the ACCA president, Asad Hamid Khan, the head of business development of Prasyap. If you could please also come up. Umar Zahir Mir, our members network panel chairman, if you could also come up, we'd like to present a token of appreciation to our guest of honors. Ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Andali Abbas. Thank you. A huge round of applause to our guest of honors, ladies and gentlemen. We'll carry on with the event proceeding. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for that. We were also supposed to be joined by Mr. Arif Ahmed Khan, the Secretary Ministry of Finance, Government of Pakistan. Unfortunately, he has been pulled into an urgent meeting, but he sends through his regards and comments and appreciation for the event. We're quickly now moving on to the second panel discussion, building up the momentum, and we're going to talk about institutional reforms. What does it mean for taxation? What does it mean on the premise of cross-border payments, contract enforcements, and the e-commerce wave that the world is talking about so vivaciously? We'll be talking about that as well. We have a fantastic lineup of panel, and I'm sure that all of our attendees would very much appreciate in contributing and seeing the learnings from here. For this particular panel discussion, we also are live on Slido. We'll appreciate that all the questions that you're posting, if they're posted up on Slido, and we could quickly read through them. So we can flash the image for Slido. The app that we are using is slido.com, and the hashtag that you'll use for putting in your comments and signing up to this app is PLC6. So we'll quickly now move on for our keynote speaker, Abid Qayyum Saleri Saab, the Executive Director of Sustainable Development Policy Institute. Sir, you're so kind to please be here and give the keynote address for what it means for institutional reforms. Dr. Abid Qayyum Saleri Saab of the Sustainable Policy Development Institute.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's really an honor and privilege to be among the thought leaders, business leaders, corporate leaders, and sharing my 2 pence towards, in my opinion, what does this institutional reform means, what is required, and what's the way forward. As said, the areas we aim to discuss today under this broader theme, they are pertinent, and I'm sure the panelists which will follow me, and of course, I'm impressed by all of them, starting from Ayla Majid to others. They will be shedding light in detail on tax reforms, on cross-border payments, and on contract enforcement issues in Pakistan. In my remarks, I will only discuss with you 4 key points and 1 takeaway message. First, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to say a few words regarding the pressing challenge and opportunity that a timely tax administration reform can offer. Any reform of taxation needs to lead us towards a new social contract between citizen and the state. As TPI, the organization that I'm representing, we conducted a survey of failed startup companies in Pakistan. And we were talking to those entrepreneurs who started their companies, but they couldn't succeed. And the 3 main findings from that survey, number 1, several startups, they are unable to meet the high compliance cost of taxation. For example, each province in Pakistan has a different tax regime. The second finding was, as a startup expands, the burden of tax compliance also increases. For example, several SMEs are unable to hire a fleet of accountants only to perform the task of filing taxes on a monthly basis. And the third one, a complex system of sales tax, customs, and regulatory duties has prevented startup companies to become exporting entities. In turn, this has led to overall decline trend in our manufacturing exports. Now, I'm pleased to say that in the previous mini budget, or the economic reform package that was proposed, some of these things, those have already announced. I'm not saying addressed because, of course, they would take into effect from 1st of July from next fiscal year. But of course, government has taken into account of some of these things, but a lot needs to be done here. And one need to see that how successfully we will be addressing them in our next budget. Now, in my discussion with the leading tax experts, reforming these issues is not a very difficult task. as seen in examples across East Asia. In our research, a fair and progressive tax reform will allow widening of tax net and broadening of tax bases. Getting all provinces to agree on tax harmonization and appropriate use of technology will make the life of foreign and local investors easier and eventually improve Pakistan's rank in the Doing Business Index. It will also encourage undocumented sector to gradually become part of the formal economy. I am happy to note that Pakistan is making progress in this direction. We are among the few countries who publicly upload the active taxpayers list online. Even most advanced countries, they don't do this. And yesterday's event where the top taxpayers, those were publicly acknowledged by the Prime Minister, I think that would further strengthen the tax payment culture. The second point I wish to put in front of you is regarding the potential of e-commerce for performing and for promoting inclusive growth. Strengthening e-commerce ecosystem will provide our youth a whole new set of opportunities for self-employment, which is much required in an economy growing well below its true potential. In this regard, the role of our regulatory bodies with reference to competition and consumer protection will be pivotal. Greater convergence of thought and understanding is required across institutions such as PTA and State Bank of Pakistan to facilitate e-commerce and mobile commerce while also ensuring consumer protection. Past complaints by consumers regarding hidden charges, low quality, and high price of online products, poor or non-responsive customer services, and lack of advancement in this sector has prevented potential consumers from online transaction. As Pakistan embraces 5G and with fast increasing mobile and internet subscribers, several global web-based companies names are willing to invest in the country. We must not let this opportunity pass by. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is this study by World Bank that every single dollar invested in digital economy, it has an average return to GDP 6.7 times higher than invested in non-digital economy. So we need to invest in digital economy. And we also know that increase of 1% in mobile broad-based penetration, it yield an increase in 0.15% in GDP. And of course, the way Pakistan is deepening and expanding its mobile-based penetration, we need to somehow be able to get the true payback of its penetration. The third is this focus on digital literacy. We can't talk of e-commerce unless and until we switch towards digital literacy. And I'm not talking of literacy, I'm not talking of alphabets, I'm not talking of 1, 2, 3. Even my driver, he can send me a WhatsApp message without typing. He just sent me an audio message on WhatsApp, and he tells me that this is where he's parked up. But we need to somehow promote this digital literacy for expanding our e-commerce. And of course, another major factor here is the lack of credible international payment gateways. Unless and until we have some sort of PayPal, or we have some sort of international payment gateways, we can't materialize the true potential of e-commerce in Pakistan. Digital infrastructure development, it's again extremely important. And digitally knowing your customer, although our financial institution, they have started knowing your customer practices, which is to avoid money laundering and to avoid other malpractices. But we also need to ensure that these financial institutions, the clients, the corporate sector, they are also enabled to digitally know their customers. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, the fourth aspect I wish to submit to you is regarding cybersecurity. The recent cyber attacks on Pakistan's financial institutions, they are of great concern to people. All the news items and all the rumors of getting ATM cards hacked and getting bank accounts hacked. Now, the scale of potential disruption from cyber attack on banking service is not to be underestimated, given the increasing reliance on online banking, which could include everything from ATM to e-commerce. This year's global risk report places cyber attack in the top 5 global risks, behind only extreme weather events and natural disasters. The report by the World Economic Forum said most attacks on critical and strategic systems have not succeeded, but the combination of isolated success with a growing list of attempted attacks suggests that risks are increasing. And finally, I must emphasize that one need to embrace these challenges and not to be afraid from them can close the entire economy from online world. We fully appreciate President Arif Alvi's initiative on artificial intelligence, which is a step in the right direction. We believe that President's initiative should include improving our understanding around that, dealing with cyber attacks, protecting online transaction and consumer interest. In STPI's joint research with Coventry University, we have offered a way forward, and this is first ensuring the first line of defense is invoked, and second, for banking sector in particular, ensure that the client base and the wider public are reassured to avoid panic and confusion, and finally, forensic audit and legal instrument deployed to coordinate collection of evidence and coordinate with domestic and international actors to help detect attackers. So with these remarks, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank the organizer and wish the conference success and look forward to listening to the distinguished panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saleri, from the Executive Director, the Sustainable Development Policy Institute. Thank you, sir, so much for setting the scene for the next panel discussion that we're going to have. I know we're stretched on time, so we're going to try to make it as quick as possible. I'd like to start off by calling our ACCA Council Member and Head of Financial Advisory Service as Khalid Majid Rahman, Ms. Ayla Majid, the ACCA Council Member. Ayla, if you could come up on the stage. Thank you. Dr. Hamid Atiq Server, the member Inland Revenue Policy, Federal Board of Revenue. Thank you so much, Dr. Hamid, for coming here and representing the public sector point of view on this. Mr. Irfan Wahab Khan, the Chief Executive Officer of Telenor Pakistan. Irfan sir, thank you so much for taking out the time, sir. We look forward to hearing from you. The energy is very low. I can alone make much more noise than all of you together in this room. So can we have another round of applause, please, for our esteemed panel? Thank you. Much better. Numan Amin Farooqi, the Director General Legal with the Competition Commission of Pakistan. Numan sir, thank you so much for being here. And completing our panel for today, Mr. Shariq Rahman, the Country Managing Director, Oracle Systems, Pakistan. And moderating this very esteemed panel is Mr. Faisal Aftab, the Managing Partner, Venture Capital, Laxon Investments Limited. Thank you so much. Just to reiterate that we are live on Slido again. Any questions and polls, hashtag PLC6. Over to you, Faisal Saab.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to start off the panel with kind of setting the context of essentially what we'll be discussing. What's extremely important to analyze is what time we're living in. This is a very historical time that we're living in where essentially a transition is happening. The last time this was faced was probably by our grandparents, in most cases our great-grandparents, which was a period from 1914 to 1945, where you had essentially the agrarian economy evolving into the industrial economy, which resulted in structural changes that impacted everything from the very fabric of the nation state, which came out as a result. And prior to that, essentially the agrarian feudal system and the monarchy system was displaced, and the industrial system essentially took control. So as we're transitioning in that same scenario today, it's extremely important, especially because it impacts from a macro global perspective, and it has fundamental impacts in the structure of the state and policy and regulation. So from the industrial transition to the information age is where we're heading. And with that, I'd like to essentially talk more about our topic. So, which is institutional reforms, taxation, cross-border payments, contract enforcement, and readiness for the e-commerce wave. So we'll start off essentially with Mr. Irfan Wahab. I think what your entity is very fundamental to what's this transition that I'm speaking of, because as some of the quotes that have been most recently, especially in the trade war that's going on between China and the US, Huawei, ZTE have been at the epicenter of this. They say that the telco lines are the replacement of the sea lanes in the industrial age, essentially as e-commerce will flow over these telco lines. So I'd like to get your input on digital payments. We saw most recently that the blockchain-based settlement system between Malaysia and Pakistan came about. And where do you see e-commerce going? As EasyPasa's app has been very active in onboarding lots of different platforms. Would like your input on this entire scenario.
Thank you, Ji. I think it's a very pertinent question. We're living in, certainly living in very interesting times. When we look around us, I mean, digital products and services are sort of transforming businesses, propelling lives and, growth all around us. And the foundation of this is obviously a very robust ecosystem, which is around connectivity. So what you've seen, at least, we're talking about the glass being, half full or half empty. So I think we all agree that if you look at some of the great achievements in this country over the last decade or so is the tremendous increase in the penetration in Pakistan of mobile services. Now we have over 100 or close to 160 million customers or people who are using mobile services. So what does it mean basically? Basically, it means that you have built that highway of connectivity. You've taken it to the deep rural Pakistan, where more than 80% of population is covered today, and you're enabling them to now benefit from the opportunities you just mentioned, opportunities which fourth industrial revolution is bringing to them. Whether it's how you use technology beyond voice and texting, whether it's health, education, commerce, agriculture, payments. And we start seeing now that some of those use cases being deployed. I mean, you mentioned payments. Pakistan, I mean, as you know, I mean, we're getting over $20 billion every year in international remittance from Pakistanis working abroad. And one of the big problem for them was that they find it more lucrative to send money through informal channels because they can get better rates. Perhaps it was more convenient for them. And then we said, okay, how can we leverage technology to solve their problem? And then blockchain, which is known to most of us as a buzzword, we said, okay, how can we deploy that and give convenience to those consumers by making sure that they can send money 24/7, they can send money without any commissions, they can get the best rates available to them, so that they can because these are people who are really working hard away from their families. And they have a huge sensitivity when it comes to pricing. So just by introducing one more money corridor of last month, we are hoping that we will scale it by to other areas, including Middle East, US, and UK, to address one of the bigger pain points for the customers, but also the government, where most of those funds can come through documented economy. And this is just the beginning. I mean, you can apply blockchain, artificial intelligence into many of those use cases for SMEs, for businesses, for individual consumers. And we have other examples where, we are trying to build an ecosystem, because no single company can do it. All of us needs to come together to create awareness and build this ecosystem. So I'll give you another example around agriculture. Pakistan being largely agri-economy, 20% GDP coming from agriculture. If you look at our productivity KPIs, I mean, we were lagging behind. Even we're lagging from our neighbor eastwards. Same soil, same weather, same people, but we're not able to actually progress over time, I would say over generations because of that. Just by deploying information services for our farmer, because everyone has smartphones, or at least feature phones. They were not really using it as a productivity tool. They were more using it for entertainment, just giving them access to information, access to weather, which is extremely important for farmers, which is a lot more surgical, which we can do as a telco, because we have 11,000 towers all around. We can deploy sensors and be a lot more surgical. giving them access to marketplace where they can get better money for their produce as such, better rates. It's just unleashing opportunities for them. In two crop cycle, because we're running it for last just over 12 months now, independent research says that their income levels have gone up by 15%. So these are 6 million farmers, 6 million families who have more, 15% more income to spend on the welfare of their families. And you ask about the e-commerce. I think e-commerce is another great opportunity for us. Uh, because of that connectivity, what we see is that a lot more people now, especially in the rural Pakistan, and these are people who have the same aspiration as people living in Karachi, Lahore, or Islamabad, but they may not have access to shopping malls. And what we see today is that when we look at the transactions, whether it's through our mobile money, Easy Pesa, or through our network, we see most of the orders are actually now coming from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Overall, it is projected the size of the market to go up to $1 billion. I think it's just scratching the surface, because we also heard in the keynote that there are other issues as well. There are issues around trust, there are issues around payment, there are issues around logistics. And if you're able to address those building blocks, which I'm pretty sure we will, as an ecosystem provider, we can actually unleash a great opportunity for companies.
Next question, Dr. Data is considered the new oil in the digital economy. We saw in the Finance Act 2018-19 that that specifically the FPR now can use data mining to identify taxpayer status. Moreover, we saw just recently that FBR is potentially being given access to NADRA's database, the family tree, and the bulk of the data, valuable data that PRAL sits on. How will that impact the taxpayer going forward in the future, or expanding the tax base? And essentially, which I think personally, which is a very essential scenario for Pakistan, documenting our informal economy, which will essentially get us into the G20 hopefully over the next 10, 15 years. Because there's different estimates on this, but they say that our informal economy is at least the size of our documented economy. So over to you on implications of this.
Thank you. Yes, in FPR, we are cognizant of the fact, and we have been investing heavily on this data mining and use of artificial intelligence to broaden our tax base and to curb tax evasion. But the issue and problem of Pakistan is much deeper than that. A large size informal economy, when we use this digital data, it only gives us some indication about the destination of the untaxed income which lands into the assets. So if we have bank accounts information, State Bank is now sharing with us the suspicious transactions also, and transactions where in a month the account transaction more than 10 million has happened. But the topologies which are there in our economy is that there is a lot of cash moving. The cash currency cash movement is largest among the region, and plus this issue of non-usage of banking. In Lahore and Karachi, it will be 40% of the economy is using business, bankings, and in Lahore maybe 25 to 30, but just outside Lahore, in Gujranwala and Sheikhupura, it goes down to 5% only. So the capture of the digital data is not that discrete that it can become immediately actionable. So this is the problem we are facing. We have received under the OECD framework information about 152,000 accounts maintained by resident Pakistanis in 26 destinations. But the problem is that, again, the money has moved out of those bank accounts, and it's difficult to identify those people because we, in our database, have only 1,700,000 people in our database. We are using Nadra's database now, but again, there are problems of, there are about 20 people on single name. So the issues are there, but we feel at FBR that all this digital information is providing us a new opportunity to go after the tax evaders uh, and stop um, uh, harassing or disturbing our honest taxpayers. But limitations are there, and we are at a very nascent stage. Look, 1,700,000 taxpayers in a population of 20 million is very small. It is even less than 1%. And again, the tax GDP ratio is merely touching 13%, in which FBR is collecting about, this year will be collecting about 11.5% of GDP. And we are targeting FBR tax GDP ratio by the end of the tenure of this government in 2023 at 15%, which will mean that we'll be touching 17%, which is a norm of this area. India is at 17 and a half. So hence it is providing us an opportunity, but we feel not that much enthusiastic about this opportunity because the issues of non-documented economy, non-capture of the real income, which when it is actually accruing, is the problem. And somehow we have been able to engage with some retailers, especially the big fashion stores have joined us, Bata and Service have joined us, and they have agreed on online monitoring by us of their sales. And we have installed point of sale machines there. And hopefully from 1st of March, we'll be getting the invoices will be approved by FBR. So whenever you are going to purchase something, the immediate real-time information will come to us. And we have offered them 3% tax relaxation for this. And about 2,500 shops have joined us. And we'll try to expand it further. And we need cooperation of people. It's not just that we can just dig data at some remote place and find out who is not paying taxes. And the other issue is that even if we get information that a person who is required to pay 1 million has paid only, let's say, 100,000, since the business has not planned for this much of tax payment, and he thinks that it is not due, he somehow invests in his circulating capital or in his fixed assets. So whenever we create a huge demand of 10 times or 20 times whatever he's paying, even if it is very correct, it eats out of the circulating capital and the fixed assets of business, and business gets closed. So we also have this realization. So we'll be moving slowly, steadily, gradually, but definitely to usage of this digital data in order to correct our tax problems and issues.
In terms of PRAL, many times the underlying database has been tracking using national ID cards, all sorts of expenditures. Basic discrepancies would be declared income of an individual is, let's say, 50,000 rupees, or same for a business. But the actual NIC-based travel could be potentially 50 lakhs a year. So are those, I mean, is there any consideration of using algorithms to automatically detect discrepancies and spit out notices? Or is it going to be a manual process?
It's not manual anymore. Algorithms have been developed by PRAL, as well as we are um, hiring services of the British tax authorities are also helping us. World Bank is also helping us. And the red flags are raised by data integration. And we focus on those people. The recent drive is a drive against high net worth individuals. And the database the information is coming from algorithms which have been attached to data, 4 or 5 different datas. And we, with the help of that, we are gradually moving from the very high net worth cases to low. We had a data of, say, 50,000 people, but we have started with the top 5,000 so that the information, we have to look at the information usage capacity of our department, as well as the risk and the chance of misuse of that information. So we are using those algorithms, and the use of And this sort of analysis will increase in the near future also.
Thank you. In terms of e-commerce, it's sending waves throughout our system gradually. I think a lot of businesses are realizing the need to move to e-commerce to capture the digital consumer. From a Competition Commission of Pakistan perspective, how do you see this impacting your role in the system from a contract enforcement perspective? A lot of entities that exist overseas are moving into Pakistan. So, and many times myself and some of the companies that I deal with from a portfolio point of view, and not just necessarily CCP, but from PEMRA's scenario, or even if you look at PTA, the regulators enforce regulation for local companies, but international companies essentially have no regulation. So a classic example would be PEMRA enforcing IPTV laws for PTCL and local performers, local entities, but not being able to enforce any licensing on Netflix and YouTube. Same goes for PTA with WhatsApp and Skype. So just your thought in terms of how this would impact, I mean, is there an evolution of policy potentially taking place?
It's a very interesting question, and perhaps I would shed some light on the competition law. The application of competition law, unlike other regulators, is not restricted to the entities who are physically present in Pakistan. It's any action which is taking place in Pakistan, or it can have any impact in Pakistan. Competition Commission of Pakistan is equipped with the tools to deal with such a scenario. Uh, there have been mergers which primarily have taken place beyond the borders of Pakistan, but then they have applied for clearance from the Competition Commission of Pakistan. Other than that, keeping in view the emergence of e-commerce, uh, let me share one recent example that there was an issue with reference to our regulations in terms of capital market transactions. The situation was not covered in the previous ones. So we amended the regulation so that the capital market transactions are also approved or scrutinized by the Commission. Recently, Commission has started a study, state of competition study in the e-commerce sector, and we are currently in the process of conducting research on how we can deal with such scenarios in order to formulate the policy to deal with future situations. And hopefully, in 2 or 3 months' time, that study will be complete, and we'll place it on our website for comments as well. Other than that, the law which we implement, that is the Competition Act 2010, in its current form, is a very unique and a modern document. There are concepts like relevant market is the heart and soul of any anti-competitive analysis. It's not the law is there, the provision is there, it's how we interpret it and how we implement it. So like e-commerce in the relevant market, whether we want to include the traditional marketplaces into the online market selling or not, that is a question which is being considered in EU as well. Whether the consumer can consider it a substitutable platform or not, that is something which we are also looking into. Then again, there's another aspect with reference to the geographic market, because in e-commerce there is no geographic market. Anyone sitting in USA can be doing business in Pakistan. So that's another aspect. Then we are also looking at from the perspective that while it provides choices and transparency to the consumers in terms of the products and the prices, but then again, transparency of prices can also result in collusion and cartelization by the manufacturers. There can be exclusive dealing arrangements of manufacturers with the online platforms. So we are looking into these things, and we are working on it. We have, as I've shared, that the policy document is in the working, and we'll share a draft with the public for their comments so that we can further improve the implementation of the competition law vis-a-vis the e-commerce.
From a contract perspective, is it so? This again came back from my own experience in terms of dealing with lawyers. When you enter into, and in commerce, it's very common to enter into exclusive deals. For smaller companies, it seemed that the threshold was essentially the same whether it's a billion rupee company or a 100 million rupee company. if you enter into an exclusive deal, essentially triggers a review by the Competition Commission of Pakistan. Is that correct or is that incorrect? Just an open-ended question.
I believe you're asking that, is it the value of the transaction?
Right. Is there?
Let me share one of the recent example. There was one case of deceptive marketing practices where the consumer purchased a watch worth of only 2,500 rupees. And then he filed a complaint and the Competition Commission intervened and took action on that, because deceptive marketing practices in e-commerce platform is perhaps one of the most common problem consumers are facing. So we have taken action. So it's not the value of the transaction, it's actually the concern. If it falls within the purview of any section or the provision of the law which we are implementing, we do take action.
Thank you. Ayla, over to you in terms of e-commerce. How is that impacting your business in Pakistan?
not have thought, not would have thought of coming into business, e-commerce has sort of given them this opportunity. And e-commerce, of course, is sort of not complete without having the relevant ingredients. So one of the first relevant ingredients is to sort of more to do the transaction where the e-payments come in. And this is where mobile companies have done a tremendous job. Imagine a country of 200 plus million people, and the number that Irfan shared just now, that over 160 million mobile users. So we have probably only a few million bank accounts in Pakistan. But now with the mobile companies coming in the digital wallet space, it is only a matter of few seconds to open up a bank account. All the KYC is done because the mobile companies, they have access to data. Banks have actually kind of sort of not been very proactive. And yes, there is a reason why, just slightly touching upon the informal economy, why people sort of keep money not in formal economy but in informal. There is, I think, in my personal opinion, there is a very simple practical reason as well, because one needs to see that what is the gain that they're having keeping the money in the informal economy. Obviously there are some regulatory concerns. People find it very difficult to open up a bank account. A few months ago, my sister from US was visiting, and I went with her to open up a bank account. It took us 2 hours because the banker was asking us to fill in every kind of paper and probably just sign many affidavits. And compared to that, I just wanted to check that how much time does it take to open up a mobile wallet account? Only probably less than 5 seconds. It was tremendous. So of course, like with all of this, this has provided access to people living in every part of the country till the last mile. Now, the other ingredients that are there, of course, the logistics industry, that has, I mean, that's really sort of is sort of helping e-commerce do well. But yet there is so much that needs to be done. We have solutions like TCS and so many likes of these, but the last mile logistics is still sort of the missing end. And this is where I think large networks like Pakistan Post Office, which has about 13,000 post offices around the country, the largest network that's there. Now, in terms of the entire space, the business transactions, one number I was reading of the State Bank of Pakistan was that perhaps 20 billion rupees worth of transaction done in 2017, about 40 billion done in 2018. And like, again, Irfan mentioned that it is close to $1 billion now. And moving on to, I mean, the way it is sort of, it is every year, it's 200% growth. So e-commerce, with its entire enabling environment, with the digital payments, with the logistics, with the technology providers, with the marketplaces like Daraz and many others, that has really created an environment where people can transact, people can sell goods. And of course, e-commerce sort of lessens the boundaries. There is no physical barrier. People don't need to sort of go and sort of meet each other, or sort of go and have a meeting to sort of do a transaction. It has really sort of, and especially in a young country like ours, and with the sort of changing behavior and the consumer patterns, it is also very interesting to see that investment is coming in the space where there are more consumers on the ground. Something that Peter Abbott mentioned in his speech, that 86 million pounds of investment Unilever is going to do, because they see that this is a young country and they will be buying consumer goods in years to come. Again, this cannot be successful without e-commerce. So all of this is like to sort of just wrap this this entire discussion, the first point of the discussion. There are all these ingredients. So now what we need to really strengthen is perhaps the tax bit of it, strengthening the technology more, providing people more access, and of course, creating the right kind of logistics as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Noman, from an Oracle's point of view, what are you seeing? Sorry, I meant Sharik. I mispronounced your name. What are you seeing your customers' demands in terms of, are they gearing up for e-commerce, or some of these structural changes that you're seeing in the country? OECD Common Reporting Standards. On the financial side, we're seeing Basel III kick in. So how is that playing out specifically globally, but more so in Pakistan for you?
So thank you very much, everyone. See, from an Oracle's perspective, Pakistan is a key focus market for us. And the paradigm has certainly changed the past 10 years. So 10 years back, so we work with all the top banks, telcos, and recently even retailers and distributors. Talking of banks, 10, 15 years back, when we used to talk of technology, it was a good to have thing, right? When we go again to the board now, and this is not the technology people, it's the board of the banks, the three things that are there in their top agenda is, of course, going digital, security, and compliance, right? Governance and compliance. And if you see, all of those are linked to technology, e-commerce in a way or other. So when you talk of digital, customers, yes, organizations are quite receptive to it, and everyone is at a different level of digitization. So what's important for the organization is, Pakistan, we have an advantage and a disadvantage. So when we say that we are 10 years behind international markets, yes, it's how you see glass half full or half empty. It's also an advantage that you do not need to fall into the same traps that the earlier starter did, right? So you can learn from the experience that the global organizations have already done. At Oracle, we're working at two ends of the spectrum. One is, of course, we're bringing international best practices when you talk of e-commerce specifically, or retailers. The hundreds of lists, but the exotic ones like Adidas, Ferrari, they all work with Oracle quite closely. And Lazada, the parent of Daraz here, even Zameen.com, I see it mentioned here, they're working with us in terms of how to enable their e-commerce pattern. And the other very important part of the ecosystem is your academia, right? So it gives me immense pleasure and honor that Oracle is one of the few organizations who has a complete academic program rolled out in Pakistan. And I can re-announce on this forum again, it got slowed down a bit, but we are picking pace. Whatever solutions that we offer, the insights that we have, it's available to academia. Most of it is available to academia at no cost. So we have universities signing up with us as well. So quite an interest. Academia has more and more interest coming in because they want their students to be ready for the next wave, right? And there are too many digital changes or buzzwords. Blockchain, as Fan mentioned, you know, design thinking, big data analytics. It's quite hard to digest for a business entity. What they need, what they want is how much value can it bring to our organization. That's where the role of you know, a technology vendor comes into play. That you differentiate, looking at where the customer is in their digital phase, where they are at their digital journey. They need to be guided and mentored or helped as partnered on the same lines. And academia is quite keen to jump up. And I think one, Ayla mentioned a very important point on the you know, the youth that we have. They're quite keen and they want to learn new technologies. My message to the youth would be, and because I mentor startups as well, I think we have enough supply of young blood who are keen to get on the platform, learn technologies. One area missing is probably the business planning part of it. So there are many startups coming out on e-commerce, and when I ask them that, why do you think you will be successful? That, well, not all of them, but quite a few of them are trying to copy a bigger international player, and they want to go cheaper than that. So if you can be cheaper because of efficiency of your supply chain distribution network, great. But the idea is that you need to have a unique selling point for your consumers, right? In Pakistan, we are blessed that your home ground is all that you need to play, at least for the couple of next years. You know, 200 million. How many countries are there with the 200 million plus population, out of which, you know, a good 60% is under 30, 35 years of age. So there's a lot of attraction from those markets. I think we need to connect the dots for us to be as sellable in the international market as the international players are.
Thank you. In terms of cross-border payments, we're seeing the SWIFT system recently has come under a lot of pressure as we're seeing more and more sanctions coming in. Some have accused the SWIFT system of actually being used as a financial weapon. We've seen Germany, China, Russia almost essentially wanting to create an alternate system to the SWIFT system. I think digital payments specifically, and digital payment gateways are going to play an important role in determining geopolitical outcomes in the coming future. And that's going to have implications in e-commerce in Pakistan and at a global scale. Irfan, particularly from your point of view, because Easy Paisa, I think, is being the first entity that would, and financial coming in, taking a stake. And my assumption would be that they would develop an international payment connectivity there. How do you see this ecosystem evolving? Is this going to be restricted only to microtransactions, or do you see the threshold essentially taking on the SWIFT system at some point?
No, I mean, the whole premise at this moment is actually addressing the financial inclusion, banking the unbanked, as already mentioned here. I mean, in Pakistan, I mean, we have less than 20% people who have access to formal banking channels, right? So 80% of population is not covered. How can we reach to them? So that's the first objective. That's objective of State Bank as well. And that's where the whole mobile ecosystem comes in. Now, I mean, once we are, and we are on the journey, obviously, I mean, EasyPaisa being, you know, second largest mobile money service globally in terms of customers and transaction, we were well positioned actually to take it to the next level, which is how can we now add more value to those customers rather than just sending money point A to point B, primarily as a domestic remittance. How can you leverage it for other services, for example, digital lending, which is again a huge, I would say, a problem statement for individuals, SMEs, because they don't qualify for complex requirements which commercial banks may have, as Ala mentioned. I mean, it is so difficult to even open a bank account. So how can you really leverage technology to do lending? We've already sort of developing credit scoring models which have been deployed in tens of thousands of customers who are where we are giving loans to them based on their credit score. And those scores could be something linked with their, say, telco attributes, because if you have a customer using your services for X number of years, you exactly know how much they're spending. But also, I mean, we're partnering with others. For example, one project which we're doing with Nestle is giving loans to farmers, milk farmers actually, based on attributes, which is really automating the entire value chain, which used to be very manual. Now we are bringing in, solutions like IoT to look at the quality of milk which is collected. Things got reconciled at Nestle's end the same day. The payment used to be twice a month. Now it's daily, going straight into the mobile wallets. So it's a huge benefit for the people working in this value chain. In addition to digital lending, I think the other thing which we have start offering is micro insurance, whether it's health or a life insurance. Again, a lot of people, majority of Pakistanis don't have access to uh, health insurance. It's outside the public or government services. Large corporates obviously offer those, but if you are a small entrepreneur or SME, there are not many of those services available to you. So, I mean, by leveraging on that, you can also offer even OPD. So, if you say pay 100 rupees a month, you have access to 100,000 rupees worth of insurance as OPD. So, there those projects or those type of products are also emerging. So, think of the benefit which it can create. And then I gave you an example of the international remittance by leveraging this. So I think the whole ecosystem in terms of the product value chain is emerging up as well. Whether, and at the same time, we are also very mindful of the environment we live in terms of the AML requirements, KYC requirements. It's a complex world, and then FATF, it's a huge I would say requirements from their side as well, which needs to be, and then State Bank and the whole industry is quite mindful of that. Absolutely. So at least in the short term, I don't see it as a replacement of SWIFT when it comes to sort of the higher limits, but it has potential. As technology evolves, as you develop distributed ledgers, and especially through blockchain, you see a global emergence of international payment gateways based on blockchain. And that will be the time when the regulators will have confidence that now you have the necessary controls which can address all the misuse. But it's an evolution process. I think it's an evolution, and at least in Pakistan we are on that path, which is quite innovative compared to many other emerging economies. And I'm quite confident that this entire ecosystem, because we need to create more and more use cases. E-commerce is going to be one big use case. Lending, insurance will be another use cases, and then international remittance. So over time, you see a really good development in this whole space.
From a connectivity point of view, especially data connectivity is an extremely important component of digitization. And you mentioned financial inclusion, but affordability of data is an important component. What measures, if any, is Telenor taking along with other telcos? Are you providing free data with some apps that you mentioned, especially healthcare apps?
You'll be surprised to see, I mean, when it comes to the data usage, and like I said, I mean, we are a country where for most of Pakistanis, access to data means the mobile broadband access, because they don't have fixed lines, we don't have fiber to the homes in a large numbers. But when you look at the tariffs, we are one of the cheapest when it comes to affordable data usage. So that remains a fact. I think still a lot can be done, because when we look at the data usage, we see a huge explosion happening. Our data usage is more than doubling every year for the last 5 years now. With the 3G and 4G services are now, I mean, in a couple of years moving towards 5G, there are more and more use cases for consumers. For that, I think we all have to work together, because if you look at the policy framework, we're still looking at spectrum, for example, as a great opportunity to have short-term revenue generation for the government. While the world is moving away from that thinking, yes, the world was having the same thoughts late 90s when 3G auctions happened in Europe, which were extremely expensive, which has resulted in a lot of companies going out of business, but they have learned from it. Now they're saying, okay, our ambition is to build a knowledge economy. And that's why you see when China allocating 4G spectrum a few years back, they did not charge a single penny. They said that we want to build 4G coverage in every nook and corner of the country. Are you with us on that? If you are, here's the spectrum, make those investments. And those investments are, by the way, I mean, billions of dollars in a country like China, and it's also a few hundred millions of dollars in case of Pakistan as well. We see Myanmar taking the same approach, where they're saying that we will not raise the prices upfront, but we want obligations on services, whether it's quality of service, whether it's financial inclusion, whether it's push towards e-commerce. So I think this has to be seen as a holistic approach where we're saying that this is an opportunity to build a knowledge economy, digital economy, which will generate revenues for FBR and national exchequer over time, because as more and more people use those services, and a really interesting fact that we have the same amount of spectrum as a nation as, say, US or Europe, because every country has the same amount, but we have not deployed it for uh, producing or laying the foundation of a digital economy. We have created a artificial scarcity so that companies can outbid and they can, pay a premium for a smaller chunk. And it's a sad fact that, when you look at the spectrum allocation, we are the lowest actually in the region, which is also, because that's the easiest way to generate even dollars from the airwaves. But this has to be a very thought through plan from a policy viewpoint, that how you would like to leverage it. What is more important? Is it to building that ecosystem which will generate a lot of prosperity, GDP growth? We have also seen from the keynote speech, there's established facts that increase in mobile broadband penetration directly results in your GDP growth.
Sure.
Same is the case with the financial inclusion. As more and more people are under documented economy, they will generate more towards GDP. So these are all established facts. What we need to do is to actually come together, do a consultation process, and think of a longer term strategy and a policy which can actually act as a catalyst for, the I would say the startup ecosystem, which is extremely important with a country which has such a big, large youth contribution as part of the digital dividend. How can we enable them? How can we equip them with the opportunities where they can play their role towards the development of Pakistan? And that is to create that ecosystem where the opportunities are created for them. So I think this has to be a bigger part of the national agenda. Right now, unfortunately, we all are working in silos. We're looking at short-term objectives. That has to change, in my view.
Leading from that, from Dr. Hamid, from an FBR point of view, as Irfan aptly said, data penetration impacts growth, economic growth, which ultimately yields higher revenue for the FBR and creates a more prosperous state. Something I've particularly noticed, I moved back from the US about 2 years ago. Comparatively, Pakistan's data rates, especially at the ISP level, are some of the highest. And on top of that, we've levied taxes, both at a provincial level and at a federal level, which essentially is curbing this growth. So is there any consideration at the FBR to revise that policy? I know we offer oil subsidies and subsidies in other areas. Is this something that's under consideration?
Initially, the tax policy people were very wary of this sort of business because we were more comfortable with physical stocks and physical things, and we've been trained to tax that. So initially, the response of FBR was not very favorable, but in last 2 or 3 years, we have introduced multiple tax exemptions for this kind of business. The digital business faces about 3 types of taxation. One is the income tax. The other is custom duties at the time of trans-border transactions, and the third is the sales tax, which is largely provincial matter because and this is considered as service, and hence the services sale tax is levied largely by Punjab and Sindh. So on the income tax side, we are cognizant of the fact that first we have to somehow protect the startups because there's high startup failure rate. So hence we have given 3 years exemptions to startups who are using this technology-driven products. So this exemption is available for the minimum tax also and for the normal income tax also. The limit is 100 million should be the turnover. More than that, we are not as yet offering that sort of exemption. But we think that the startups are not that big to start up. And hence, we've given this exemption of 3 years to them. The only requirement is some technology board, software board approval, and they get this exemption. On the other side, we have also supported the marketplace. In marketplace, we have offered them 1/3 of the turnover tax rate on income tax side, and also their commission income liabilities is 1/3 of the normal. So we have given, on the retail side, we are not offering any exemptions because we think that on the retail side, the already established businesses who are using this method of cash on delivery or other methods, it is actually reducing their costs. And hence, on retail sides, there are no exemptions, but on marketplace side and on the startup side, income tax. And in the negotiations with these people in Ministry of Commerce, we were pleasantly surprised to know that there are no major issues with income tax. On the side of custom duties, there are problems. On import of things, they are generally finished goods which are being imported in Pakistan, and hence they suffer this 16 to 20% of custom duties and the RDs and the additional custom duties and maybe sale tax, etc., which are levied on imports. This is basically driven from the negative trade balance that we are suffering now. We have some foreign currency reserve crunch, and as a result, this government is trying to in the short term, we are trying to retract our imports. The import compression is one of the aim of in the very short term, and so there are no concessions offered on that. But hopefully, in 2 to 3 years' time, when the fiscal space increases, that will also be offered. On the export side, there are no custom duties and no taxes, but there are some regulatory issues. And the last meeting with these people, we agreed that we'll be using this V-box system of customs in order to facilitate their exports. The largest problems are coming from the provinces because since after 18th Amendment or after 2011-12, the provinces, the PRA and SRB are there, and since they are competing with each other on taxes, they offer different rates. The standard rates at the start was 17 or 16%, then the Sindh government offered 14, then Punjab also tried to match them. So there is a need of policy harmonization over there, and in fact, in the long run, because of these sort of services, it will be very difficult to identify where is the host and where is the destination of sale. So, and obviously the cross-border Pakistani diaspora is asking for nishat linen, is asking for khadi products. So it will be very, very difficult and the disputes will increase. So in the medium term, we should look at a single tax authority which is dealing with these things, and the money can be distributed through some new NFC award. But there's multiple sort of authorities collecting taxes will create more and more problem because there will be simultaneously claim from Punjab and from Sindh and from KP and from Rajasthan and from Kashmir and from Federation on a single transaction, which will be disastrous for Pakistan. So hence, there is a debate going on that we should go for a single taxation authority so that these problems can be come over. But the other concern that we have is the typical Akerlof asymmetry of information problem, because the startups as well as the other businesses which are into it are not in the habit of provisioning for their taxes, and hence they see that will only pay tax on demand. So that's the problem that we were at the office of Uber a month back, and we are lifting up computers of some other organizations. This is a problem that they have this data, but as the transaction takes place in some open source environment, that cannot be traced. The real accounts are only with the owner. And since the management is not that professional and account keeping for tax department is different from the actual, so we are also facing this dilemma that there are no third party verification of who has earned what income, and so that the correct taxes can be levied. So that is the problem, and we are trying to find a solution. Ministry of Commerce is taking the lead, and some of the things have been already incorporated in law, and some more changes will be coming up in this coming up budget of 2019-20.
Just to add to the startup point that was mentioned, we started a program for mentorship of startups and getting some funding, software or cloud funding for the startups, and it got stuck because apparently none of the startups had a tax ID, right? So we took an exception and we went to the incubators, and guess what? Even some of the incubators didn't even have a tax ID. So you know, agreeing to that we do have some silos in place, and there's goodwill in the process, but message to the startups and even the incubators as well that when you talk from an international perspective, a tax ID or a basic taxation entity is kind of a must. There's nothing, it's unheard of that you would not have a carry a tax ID with you. So just adding to that comment, I mean, we do face certain challenges when you're trying to bring in some foreign investment into the country and initiate a program. It hits a roadblock on challenges like that.
Can I just quickly add to that? I mean, there is actually, one understands that some people may be trying to sort of not pay their taxes or to evade, or just like you said, Dr. Hamid, like pay taxes on demand. There are some concerns with regards to compliance being too complicated as well. I mean, a lot of people would not file for an NTN because they will feel that this will put us under a scrutiny, which is going to be so burdensome for us. What we basically need to do, of course, we need to create awareness, but we need to create a system which makes it very easy for anyone to just pick up a mobile phone or just open up a website and file an individual or an organization's taxes. So that is something that needs to be done as well. Now, with regards to your concern, I would like to slightly touch upon that as well, that the issue of e-commerce taking place in so many jurisdictions, and then the provincial and the federal authority sort of then creating a plan as to where does the tax lie, who does the tax belong to, what is the origination of the transaction, where is it eventually landing. The UAE government, when last year beginning, when they implemented their value added tax, they came up with the solution. And I mean, in the simple tax form that they have, there were a lot of fields. Initially, I looked at, okay, why would anyone to put, like, there are 7 emirates and you need to sort of put down every detail. So what they were doing, they were addressing that problem. And where they are now heading is eventually, and maybe just probably by 2020, they are going to put everything on blockchain. So when the transaction, when you go and make a small transaction at the retailer, it will automatically be connected to their inland revenue. And if anyone who should be getting the fair share of tax that belongs to them will be parked into their account. So those are the things that we need to do. And I am aware of one initiative which was taking place at FBR, which was integrated tax management system. So I think those are the things that perhaps we need to move forward with.
Let me inform this house that by the time the next return becomes due, we are working on a wizard and an app for filing of return. The return will remain the same, but the fields which will be appearing for, let's say, for a salaried person, he'll be in and out of that filing of return in 2 or 3 minutes. Excellent. So only the relevant field will be appearing to them. And similarly, we were getting a lot of, we wanted a lot of discrete information which was not required. For example, the utility bills, the people used to add up all their monthly bills to reach the figure which they wanted to declare. But this time we'll be giving some range that your monthly or annual bill was 100 to 200,000, 200 to 300,000. So the range will be accepted, which you can, without consulting, you can give a ballpark figure. And third initiative which we are doing, inshallah, will be ready by 30th September is pre-populated returns. So we'll be giving you the information which we have about you, your transactions, your car purchases, your property purchases, your utility bills, and your salary and your tax deducted, your children's education, all will be pre-populated in the return. So we'll give upfront the information we have. We don't want to tax you or catch you after you have given a wrong declaration. We'll help you in reminding you that this thing has taken place and you have done such and such thing. Kindly be mindful of the fact while filing your returns. So we are going for this ease of doing business. We've already reduced the number of withholding tax returns from 12 to 2, and ultimately, maybe by next year, we'll be only requiring one return on that side. We'll like to combine the sale tax, income tax, and FED returns into one form, so that people should spend time in doing their business and not waste their time on filing their tax or attending the tax offices.
Very welcome initiatives, I must say.
Thank you. I personally appreciate that, because after I moved back, it took me 6 months to compile my taxes, because the accountant asked me, can you describe the furniture that you possess? So we went through an inventory list. But I think it's time for us to wrap up our session. I'll get a closing thought from each one of the panelists. One thing I would like to say is, tying into the previous panel, is that as data connectivity improves, that is going to change the way this country overall performs and grows. And I think we're really poised with our demographics, where 70% of the population is below the age of 30. That means there's a high chance of technology adoption. As we've seen with tools like WhatsApp, education and correlation usage of technology is not necessarily that strong. So therefore, even the masses are using WhatsApp, using voice notes and their own mediums of communication to communicate with each other. And as data improves, with 5G essentially coming in and eventually downstream as the technology becomes more affordable, and we have the cloud essentially close to us, that'll help us in documenting the economy and create all sorts of avenues for growth that today that we're limiting to just brick and mortar and manufacturing. So, with that thought, just parting thoughts on e-commerce, where each of you see it going, and just overall about technology. I'll start with Noman sir.
So as I said, it's a new field to which perhaps we are not well conversant with at the moment. And we need to understand, and I think and I believe that there has to be laws which must be harmonized in a way so that anyone entering into the e-commerce business should be doing business with ease rather than facing problems. FBR is facing problem, we might be facing problem with reference to the source, the person where it is actually present physically. So I think that harmonizing the laws is something which we should focus on to deal with e-commerce.
No, I remain very optimistic actually going forward but just by leveraging technology, I think we can truly transform not just e-commerce, but the entire journey towards truly a digital economy, a knowledge economy, which will add significantly to the GDP growth of the country. It will remove inefficiencies, it will enhance productivity, it will offer opportunities for citizen services, the example which we heard from FBR today as well. And I think the future will be much better than our past.
I think the e-commerce or digital economy is there not because of some government initiative, not because of some hurdles produced and some ease of business provided by FBR. It is there because it is a successful business thing. It reduces the cost of startups. It is something which will expand because of its own reasons, because of its own momentums, and no tax authority can stop it, not it can discourage it. Encourage it maybe, but I think this digital economy will be there despite the government authorities or regulators or tax authorities trying to stop it. I'm not saying that we are going to stop it. We want to encourage it because of the very fact in the keynote the speaker said that the gains in the GDP growth are more in use of digital technology because of the low costs. So hence it will be there not because of me and you, it will be there because it is a successful business model.
Thank you, Faisal. I'm extremely positive about what's going to happen in this country in terms of the technology growth and how this country especially can leverage. Countries that are not fully developed or on the path of development can leverage technology for the best growth. If we look at models of many developed countries, e-commerce has not, or digital technologies have not given them the kind of growth it has given to sort of underdeveloped countries, whether we look at South Asia, Southeast Asia, even China, and even African countries. So the way technology can be leveraged to make anything accessible and to connect people, to transact, to communicate, and to share services, I think we are in a very lucky position here because of the demographics, because of not fully developed, because of how people want to interact with each other. So I see extremely positive growth. So it's a very opportune time for Pakistan to leverage technology and move forward really fast and sort of helping everyone sort of achieve their goals. And it sort of ticks a lot of other boxes with regards to empowering every person in the country, empowering every community. We know that in our culture and in our society, like a lot of women cannot go out to work. Now, e-commerce, this digital technology has given them empowerment. They can work from their homes, they can do the transactions, they can do business. So it's sort of given marketplace to them. And also where the physical infrastructure is not available, e-commerce has sort of connected all those places as well, like I say, the last mile of the country. And finally, I would like to add the human perspective as well. I think digital space and technology has made people a lot happier as well. I mean, you wouldn't want to be out on the road driving in traffic and just be stuck in traffic, or just sort of, I mean, you just look at Google map and you can see where the traffic is, where there's more traffic. You're not going to adopt that route. If you want to order food at your place, you can just, you have now so many apps to do it. So I think it's going to improve, and it has improved the happiness index of the country as well. And that's extremely important to sort of measure as well. Bhutan, fortunately, is a country where they felt that more than GDP, they need to look at the happiness index. So now you can, I was reading this morning that Grab, the Singapore ride-hailing company, they have introduced this service called Grab Pet. Like even you can send your pet to the vet, like, so it's just creating, it has really improved the quality of life as well, and has made people happier. And of course, just sort of the parting thought, we all stakeholders need to work collectively together, because all of this is contributing positively to everyone's agenda, whether it's the government, whether it's the regulator, whether it's the technology company, e-commerce, the marketplace players, everyone. So I feel it's great times for the country and for the people, and this is really the right direction to move forward.
I think great thoughts have been shared, and I've shared the same sentiment that there's great potential out in the market. The wave is there to stay. My only comments would be that you need to pace up as a country. You know, do not reinvent the wheel. There's great technology out there for you to do whatever you want to do. You need to pace up, and it's no more a discussion about enabling yourself or automation, automating yourself. The next question is personalization. So any big retailer out there, the consumers are becoming very demanding. They don't want absurd calls or products being marketed to them. They want to be focused, what age group do they belong to, what are their liking preferences. So the competition is getting much intense. And if you want to compete at that level, we need to pace up ourselves, use the experience that other countries have already done, and kind of take a leapfrog from what we are right now. And the technology is there, the platform is there. There are a lot of good players out there in the market, local and international. It's only a matter of willingness to do and get up to where we deserve to be.
Thank you. I think we'll open the floor up for Q&A. Sure. Wait there. I think Mike is here.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Saifur Rahman, Director General Overseas Pakistanis Foundation. Thank you very much. But I would like to draw the attention of because a lot of overseas Pakistanis come to, we talk about the ease of business, we talk about the e-commerce and everything. But when they come to Pakistan and they come for 2 or 3 weeks to just to get, what kind of business they would like to start. And some of them, they come back to me, Saab, hum wapas ja rahe hain. Thank you very much. Because recently one gentleman came and I spoke to the chairman, BOI. He was very kind. He met our senior officers in the ministry. Then they wrote a letter to the government of Punjab. घूम फिर के वापस आ गए साहब thank you very much. The point I'm trying to say is for the FBRS, Dr. Saab, can we do something? Can we help those overseas Pakistanis? They would like to come, they want to invest in Pakistan. There are a lot of potential abroad. When we talk about overseas, I'm also saying the overseas investors. We say that the country is ready for investment. I'm sure everything is, that we welcome, but there is need to, we talk about one vendor facilitation center, but there is unfortunately none. So I would also request the private sector, they can also take initiative. While I said very good thing, the collectively we can do. It's not the government job also, but also the ACCA can take initiative. How can we help? Sometimes some website, just a gentleman who wants to come from abroad, what initial things he has to know. They don't even know what taxes they have to pay. So this is my request also, that that if something can be done about these people, they've got a lot of potential, they're very patriotic, they want to come, and now the new government has come and they are very keen. Another thing I would like to also request the ACC, I was discussing with one of my colleagues that next year maybe they can also have one forum for the Pakistani diaspora business leadership, because there are a lot of overseas Pakistanis abroad, and one of them would have been here, I think they would have been delighted to see so many things here which have been discussed. The excellent the program they have made recently, the move about Pakistan. I'm telling you, there's a lot of potential which we are missing abroad. Finally, I'm sorry, but we should also invite some of the top business students, at least 10 to 15 people in this next meeting. So at least those business students should see what our leaders are doing, because there's a lot of misperception about the negative impact about Pakistan. So we can at least, the younger generation, maybe one student from one top university from Pakistan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll take another question and then we'll ask the respected panel to please comment.
Thank you. A very thought-provoking discussion. My name is Umar Zahir Mir. I'm the chairman of ACCA's Members Network Panel and managing partner Taxation at MLCC. My question is actually directed at Dr. Hamid Atiq Server. It was very good to see your thought process, Dr. Saab, with all this tech and the focus. But a person of your experience and caliber would certainly appreciate the key issue here is the lack of confidence. You have mentioned the harmonization, or actually the lack of harmonization, which needs to be addressed, as well as the structural reforms. We are doing these tech-based projects, which are fantastic and would help certainly people like us. But we have a big segment of society which is not, due to certain reason, and would not, despite these initiatives, prefer to come within the ambit. Reason being the subjective nature of our laws. Just to highlight it for our audience here, one of the key reforms that ACCA's Taxation Committee has been making regularly is there is a particular clause in the income tax rules which speaks about the attachment of accounts. It has to be only done in the cases where there is pertinent information or an absolute surety of the threat that government exchequer would be endangered and suffer a loss if this is not done. But practically, you and me are both aware that this is done in almost all the cases, and everyone suffers the consequences. So you being in the capacity of the member policy, what steps do you think and how quickly are being taken to address these issues to ensure that there is actually some steps taken to minimize this trust deficit with the general populace? Thank you.
This is a tough question for Dr. Hamid Saab. I'll take the easier one, if you allow me. The first gentleman mentioned on the inviting the foreign mindset. Like I said, I'll leave the tough part on the investment to Dr. Hamid Saab. I'll take the easier one. We as local entity, I'm a foreign entity based in Pakistan. you're right. There are a lot of good Pakistanis who want to come back, want to contribute to their country. And when they come here, the culture at times and the taxation is not really relevant. However, we've seen a change recently when we've taken a step ahead. So there's a lot of brain drain that's happening from Pakistan to international markets, US, Canada, Saudi. But there are also very good Pakistanis who want to come back and work in an individual capacity manner, like a consultant or Oracle, along with one of some of our technology players, we are hiring people from outside right now. So if you are on my LinkedIn, we have some job postings on the LinkedIn. And interestingly, the most dedicated and passionate person we found for the job was someone based in Saudi who wants to come back for family reasons. So it's a very interesting country. We went out of the way because when you're coming back from a foreign country, your joining cycle is a bit late. You probably need 2 to 3 months time to see. So we are doing that on a kind of individual level or a local company level. That's happening. And if you know any good Pakistanis who are technologically very advanced, you're more than welcome to connect them to me, to us. We have other technology players in Pakistan who want to absorb these in individual capacity of that individual. So that's happening because the brain drain in Pakistan is enormous. 15 years back, when we gave an advertisement for a good technology resource, experienced one, there used to be numerous hands raising for that. Now we find kind of a shortage in terms of experienced, qualified people, because the moment you have done 2 or 3 projects with a big giant like Oracle, Google, any one of those, your market adoption or absorptibility in international market goes really high, right? So we're already working on those fronts, and we're ready to kind of extend our timelines or give them additional kind of space to play wherever it's possible. Please feel free to connect such talent with us, and there are other in the group as well, the local partners who want to absorb such talent coming back to Pakistan. Now it's up to you for the difficult part of it.
Before, Hamid, just a one comment. Anybody who wants to make investment in Pakistan and they are struggling, just drop us a line and we will connect them to the right people. One advice and one I'll encourage that always engage a professional to assist you. That if you will try to do that in a 2-3 weeks by yourself, you may not be able to connect the right dots. So and anybody struggling, advise them to just connect with ACCA. We will ensure that they get to the right people and we can engage the right professional who can assist them. So thank you.
So about the first question, the lead department is Board of Investment, BOI, at the federal level as well as at the provincial level also. And they, at their website, and they offer this help. But, and FBR also on website has given these incentives at one place. But the problem is that we as a government cannot tell you the culture and the informal side. I'm not talking about the informal side of gatekeepers and money seekers and rent seekers. I'm talking about the way of doing thing in Pakistan. Maybe we are culturally a tribal type of people. We want to do work of people whom we know, and the other people whom we don't know, we don't want to do the job. So hence the need of a third party like ACCA or like KPMG or somebody who tells the non-residents or the expatriates about the cultural issues, how they can get their job done the informal manner. Again, not the bribery thing of paying money, but the ways and means of doing these things in, let's say, which are taking 20 days in 2 days. So there should be some third party, because of the government compulsions, government will never be offering you that help of the informal things which you need to know about investing in Pakistan. Otherwise, if Pakistani people, about 90 million of them, are doing the businesses over here, so somehow there must be some ways and means to do business here. So that is why the ACCA and the other third parties can help. On the other side, on the second question, we are very cognizant of the fact that this is happening. The trust deficit is again very, very cultural and rooted back into the history. So something done wrong 20 years back or 10 years back will also comes and haunts us, because that is there in the hearts and minds of people. And so the trust deficit, despite the fact that in last 10 years we are looking at the figures, we've only done 1% population audit. So, but the feeling you'll get from the general public is that the tax people are at our necks and they are doing audits and things. But factually, we don't have capacity to do that much audit. So from 2001 onwards to this year, we have done only 1% audit. High-handedness of the department is there. We are a 27,000 workforce, and obviously the actions of everybody can, but we have an integrity management system put in place, and we are trying to address this issue also. But we have also analyzed that a lot of this noise or the grievance is coming from the salaried people. So we are thinking of adding a clause that for salaried people, we should not be exercising this power of attaching their bank accounts under Section 140 of Income Tax Ordinance, especially when after the resolution of dispute, there is no demand. So this causes a lot of, we get bad press, we get bad public opinion for that, and we are thinking of imposing some more conditions on attaching the salaried people account. On the business side, the complaints and grievances are not that much, because actually this is a way and mean of getting the tax. Otherwise, because of the British this appellate system of 5 appellate forums going up to Supreme Court, nobody is willing to pay taxes. And although our dependence on on-demand taxes is only 13%, 87% is coming from voluntary compliance. But at some times this becomes very vitally important, and we have to go for these coercive measures. Otherwise, in the good days when we started our business, our demand notice, usually in 30 days people used to pay. But because of this, I should not say it, but the judicial reliefs that people are getting, the judicial activism and the awareness and the lawyers and everything, it has become very difficult to get money from the people.
Okay, I guess that also addressed some of the questions that we were getting on Slido as well. So with that, we'll have more time in the networking session. Where apologies, we're just a bit off schedule, so we'll like to get back on track. Thank you so much, Faisal, for moderating this very, very vibrant panel. If you can give them a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to request Robert Stenhouse, the ACCA president, to please come up on the stage. Sajid Aslam, if you could also please join him. And we'll, Asad if you could also please come up, and we'd like to give mementos to our second panel discussion speakers in the panel. So we'll start off with Dr. Hamid Atiq Server, the member Inland Revenue Policy, Federal Board of Revenue. Thank you, Service Sab. Irfan Wahab Khan, the Chief Executive Officer, Telenor, Pakistan. Thank you, Irfan Sab. There's very little applaud coming from the audience. Trust me, the longer you don't applaud, the longer it will take for me to open the lunch. Mr. Numan Amin Farooqi, the Director General Legal with the Competition Commission of Pakistan. Shariq Rahman, Country Managing Director, Oracle Systems, Pakistan. And Ayla Majid, the ACCA Council Member and Head of Financial Advisory Services at Khalid Majid Rahman. We also have a memento for Dr. Abid Qayyum Sileri. Is he here? He's left. All right, well, we'll hand that over to him. And if I could, there's one more memento that we have for Mr. Khurram Salim, who's accepting the memento on behalf of Yusuf Hussain Saab. Thank you so much, Khurram, on behalf of Yusuf Hussain Saab, who was here early in the morning for our first panel discussion. Khurram Salim will be accepting his memento. And if I could request all the panel Mr. Faisal Aftab, obviously, our moderator for this panel, the managing partner, Venture Capital, Laxon Investments Limited. So thank you for being a fantastic moderator for this panel discussion. Faisal Aftab Saab, the managing partner, Venture Capital, Laxon Investments Limited. And if I could request all the panelists to please join for a group photograph. And whilst the panel is taking the group photograph, we have a video message that's been recorded for ACCA Pakistan Leadership Conversation. Thank you, Ayla. Thank you, gentlemen. We have a video message that has been recorded by Mr. Harwoon Sharif, the Chairman Board of Investment. We'd like to quickly play that for the benefit of our audience.
Pakistan has very clearly embarked on a journey where we are expecting Pakistan to be hub of economic activity, not only for the region, but also very specifically, for creating jobs and transfer of technology, as well as getting into joint ventures from, global leaders within Pakistan. So what I see Pakistan in 2025 is a country which is very clearly catching up with the East Asian standards, because as a matter of fact, we'll be in the middle of two largest economies in the world, which is China and India. Now our key challenge is that now there is a substantial interest which has arisen in Pakistan, not only from China, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Malaysia, Qatar, Korea. All are looking to have a base in Pakistan. So that is the strategy which BOI is taking forward, and we are trying to basically be the entry point for any investor, so that we can facilitate them and they should get confidence that this country is actually not ready for business. Delighted to hear that ACCA has taken a leadership role in Pakistan Leadership Conference, which is coming in 2019. And these are the initiatives, actually it is linked to what I was saying before. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, like I mentioned in the morning, that any conversation, any conference of this sort would not have been possible without the contributions of our partners who had agreed to be on board with the ACCA Pakistan Leadership Conversation. This is the third in the series of conversation events that we have had, Karachi, Lahore, and Islamabad being the last one. But there are a lot of discussions and actionable agenda that has been developed for 2019. And we will be going ahead with our partners in achieving this particular agenda as well. I'd like to acknowledge our strategic partners at EXT and Kansai for supporting ACCA's vision of the ACCA Pakistan Leadership Conversation. Do we have a representative from EXT to collect the memento? Robert, if you could please come up. There we go. So our strategic partners, ladies and gentlemen, EXT, we'd be handing over a memento to them. So if we can have a round of applause for them. And from our platinum partners, TMUC, if we have a representative here from TMUC, Zunaira Riaz is here, the head of professional qualifications from TMUC. Ladies and gentlemen, she'll be accepting the award. Thank you, TMUC, for supporting the vision. and all the other partners, all the gold partners that you see, and the supporting partners that have facilitated us. We have our knowledge partners here as well, who have facilitated ACCA Pakistan Leadership Conversation, and also to our media partners for supporting the agenda. I would like to call up on stage thank you, gentlemen. I'd like to call up on stage for the closing address, Mr. Asad Hamid Khan, the Market Head Business Development for ACCA Pakistan.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thank you very much to everyone who has been a part of today's PLC, the Pakistan Leadership Conversation 2019. I would like to actually start off if all the audience could stand up, please. And now it's actually time to clap for the audience for being such a fantastic audience, to be able to hear such fantastic contribution from our panelists, from our conversation leaders, from our moderators and our chief guest. Thank you much. Please be seated. So just a few minutes before we close this edition, it has been a fantastic journey which started off in Karachi on the 18th, and we have been very privileged to have fantastic thought leaders joining us on this agenda. PLC 2019, as Nurulan would have shared at the start, started 3 years back, where ACCA felt that there is a lot happening in Pakistan, whether that's the public sector, the regulator, the private sector, or individuals. But there is a need for a platform which can put together this entire effort, converge that, filter that, integrate that, and then convert the entire focus towards action. So we have seen and we have heard about passion, imagination. Imagine what Pakistan would be in the next 5 years by 2050. Imagine what is our role, the thoughts from our conversation leaders in terms of what we need to contribute. But I think few takeaways for me, which I believe is something that we will put together and make sure that this year's conference, which is the 3rd edition, actually converges into the most important thing which was resonated in the keynote that we had from Mandalib Abbas, that it's all about capacity, and you need that character to navigate that capacity into something which makes an impact and contributes to the economic growth. We talked about at the start, if we remember what the chief guest mentioned, Mr. Asad Umar, that Pakistan has a great potential, and most probably the only country right now where the potential versus reality, there's a big gap. We shared with you how we wish to see Pakistan in the future and unlock this potential. And for this, Mr. Asad Umar thought that the aims and goals that we had mentioned, we should be aiming higher, not for a 7% average GDP growth, higher than that, not for a top 15 ranking within the GDP of the world, among the GDP ranking of the world, but in the top 5. Moving forward, I think a very important point made by one of the keynote speakers, that at the end of the day, economy is digitalizing. And we really need to understand that all those economies that have taken this digitization, embraced it, their GDP multiplier is far superior to those that have not. Moving on, a lot of fear that people have, artificial intelligence, how that is contributing towards increasing the efficiencies and removing the inefficiencies. And at the same time, this fear that it will be eliminating the current jobs. But I think it's been very well said by our panelists and all our conversation leaders that AI will be the tool, so it may eliminate the way in which we are doing the current jobs, but it will definitely not be creating unemployment. The most appropriate case cited by Dr. Yasser for Japan, where robotics came in, but their employment rate and their GDP growth rate has been phenomenal. We talked about the fiscal structure, obviously the last panel, institutional reforms, largely aimed at seeing e-commerce and its contribution to our GDP. A lot of this gets linked to our ease of doing business and global competitiveness drive. And it's heartening to hear that the open-mindedness with which the regulators, the policymakers, the practitioners, and the private sector communicate with each other for improving and to realize that potential that all of us have to play a collective role in terms of delivering this promise. Last but not the least, I think there's a very important point raised by our council member, Ayla, where she mentioned that the new models of business are really well suited for societies like ours, where women find it more convenient to work from home. And this entire wave of e-commerce, online digitization is helping empower them to take their destinies in their own hand and contribute towards the GDP, similar to other economies where women contribution helps multiply the GDP growth. I would just conclude on this note, which was shared by Mr. Irfan Wahab, that Pakistan is the most affordable country in terms of its internet communications and technology. And I must share for the benefit of all over here that the World Economic Forum has also reported the same and has ranked Pakistan on top of the world in terms of the most affordable ICT services of any country globally. So with this thing in mind, let's just invest in competitiveness. Look forward to seeing you all next year, PLC 2020, with the same energy, with a broader imagination. Hopefully, we would have had some progress on the actionable agendas that come out of this engagement. And last but not the least, before I bring on board the entire team that has put together this and has made this possible, please do follow us if you wish to on hashtag PLC 2019. And if there's any social media post or comment that you would like to make, please do tag us in there and use this hashtag. And guys, so last but not the least, I think we really would be encouraged if you could give a very warm and a very loud applause to the entire team that has made this possible. I would start off with Afrasiab Ehsan Nawab, Hina Alishanul Haq, Muhammad Shahid, Isra, Muhammad Shahid, Shahrukh Shaukat, Ehsan, my colleagues Asad Mahmood Malik, Faisal Azim, who is our head of education North and has traveled today over here, Sidra Haq, our education manager stationed in North, Harun Ahmed Jan, our regional head of member affairs, Hamad Azim, our head of marketing, the person who together with his team has brought together the entire production. Last but not the least, but I would say the penultimate last would be our digital specialist, the person who has made sure that every conversation over here has been relayed live to our viewers. We have had fantastic audiences, not just physically, but this entire session here in Islamabad, before that in Lahore, and starting with Karachi, was relayed through webcast. Rashid, if we can have you on the stage, because we would like to see this one-man army. Nouralan Zafar, our ex-colleague and who is now an entrepreneur, she is her own boss, runs a fantastic new startup. She has been the energy behind this entire conference, and we owe it a lot to her. 6 events, 4 days in a row. Hamad, we need you to clap from the stage, please. Thank you. Hamad Azim, our head of marketing. And the person who has made sure that every person was able to fly to one city to another. Every person was able to logistically be accommodated and made convenient the entire stay. Sayyid Muttahid Shah, again a one-man person, one-man army. and we would not have had this lunch without him. And in the last, obviously, the association itself is its members. So we really like to thank all the members who have contributed, who have helped shaping this agenda, bringing out this commitment, and 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 uh, obviously the person who has led this association in Pakistan for us, Sajid Aslam. He'll be joining us shortly. So we'll bring him on the stage when he comes in. So I'd like to bring, first of all, Robert Stenhouse, request him, our president, global president, to be with us. He has really inspired us with his energy, despite the fact that he arrived on the 17th. He has been on the go. And if I look at this, the engagements that we have done, I think it would be at least a dozen in the last 3.5 days. Then Ayla Majid, our Global Council member, we're very proud to say that the first ever council member from Pakistan in the last 115-year history of ACCA itself, our chairman member network panel, Umar Zahir Mir, if we can have him. Yes, so we have Mr. Sajid Aslam joining us, the person who keeps inspiring us, who keeps guiding us, who keeps endorsing our experiments, allows us to fail fast, but at the end of the day succeed. And I think this entire gathering wouldn't be complete without our friend and a very dear collaborator, Mr. Asfar Ehsan from Nutshell Conferences, who's been fantastic in terms of really providing the outreach. He has been very understanding of the agenda that ACCA has taken forward. So, Asfar, it wouldn't be fair for you to be sitting over there. We would like you to conclude the PLC segment with you being on the center stage. Asfar Ehsan, ladies and gentlemen, please. So with this, thank you to the audience and all our...
So before you do that, also Asad Hamid Khan, ladies and gentlemen, for steering this entire team and across Pakistan.
And on behalf of, since I represent members in Pakistan and members from other parts of the world as well, I would like to thank each one of you. You are really a remarkable, amazing team. I've been working with you for years, and your dedication and your commitment, starting right there from the country head Sajid all the way, including Noor and everyone else. All of you are remarkable people. And we've been working as a team and representing Pakistan. Pakistan Leadership Conversation has become a flagship event, and all stakeholders, it is for all stakeholders, for all of you. So it's because of all of you as well that we make this a success. So thank you to each one of you. You are very special. Thank you.
अब आप सारे सोच रहे हैं कि वो लंच की अनाउंसमेंट हो जाए तो मैं बिल्कुल कर देती हूँ, otherwise I would have hold you all here for another hour. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to a close of the Pakistan Leadership Conversation for 2019. See you in 2020 inshallah, same place and hopefully the same time. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz. Lunch is served outside.